are recording. Welcome to episode 7 of Faint Praise. I'm Toni.
I'm Eric.
And this is a podcast where we take movies with similar themes and score them in a few different categories in order to decide which one did it better. And this week's theme was Frankenstein flops. So this week we did I, Frankenstein from 2014 versus Victor Frankenstein from 2015. So two magnificent Frankenstein movies within a year of each other.
You should have called it, and maybe we will, Floppy Frankensteins.
Floppy Frankensteins?
Yeah.
I'll consider.
For the title.
I'll consider.
That's my vote.
Yeah.
Floppy Frankensteins.
Yeah. I think they
or
both...
Flaccid Frankenstein.
Flaccid Frankenstein films. I feel like we're all about the alliteration, so...
I like alliteration.
I think as many words as I can get to start with F. That's what I'll go for.
I'll come up with some more.
Yes.
I know a few good F words.
Yes. So, as
like
always...
facetious.
Yeah. Sure.
Fecundity.
So as always, we always try to watch the worst movie first, even though we didn't do these on the same day.
So we watched Ender's Game again.
That is, to date, still the worst one.
You know how to make any movie look awesome?
Yeah. Watch
that
Ender's Game
first.
first, and then you watch I, Frankenstein.
Then get drunk and watch anything else.
Yeah, but no, we went with I, Frankenstein because on Rotten Tomatoes it got a coveted one-digit score at 3% on Rotten Tomatoes. So
Oh, really? It was that low?
It was 3%.
Not to give away my ratings, but we've watched movies that were worse than this that were not 3%.
Yeah. Well, again, the rating system is just binary, go or no go, and no critic is going to tell you to watch I, Frankenstein.
It's basically a smash or pass rating system.
Yeah, it's no one's going to tell you to watch I, Frankenstein, but...
Except Aaron Eckert and maybe he probably even got his money. Just the director.
Yeah, he's like, did the check clear? Don't fucking watch I, Frankenstein.
Wait, should I watch this? Wait, has that been paid yet? Whispers to his lawyer. Sure. Week later, no.
Yeah, no, please do not.
Or what? What movie? I don't know what you're talking about.
So
that wasn't me. That weren't me.
Victor Frankenstein, by comparison, got a whopping 24%.
Wow.
Yeah, but so we went with the 3% I, Frankenstein, and yeah, we didn't watch them on the same day, but it just doesn't always work out, folks. So we did what we could. So a quick synopsis of I, Frankenstein. It is based on a graphic novel. I tried to find a little bit about the graphic novel and really...
I'd heard that, but I don't think it was one of those that anyone even knew about. I think nowadays with like Watchmen and Walking Dead, people are just like going out there to find some graphic novel with like an idea behind that they're like, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
That they can use without... It doesn't have to be a successful graphic novel.
And there's like not even a Wikipedia page on it.
Which means it probably is someone that was like on Kickstarter, not even a real Marvel or DC or Image graphic novel.
And the guy who
who knows? I don't know anything.
And the guy who wrote the graphic novel is in the movie.
Oh, is he? Who is he?
Yeah, he's just one of the devil henchmen.
The main one?
Maybe. Not the main fighting one, but like the head of security or something.
Not the huge black guy, not the one that he fought in the warehouse.
Not the one he fought in the warehouse. But I think there was another one who was always kind of around. I think that was...
Silent being in his movie.
Yeah. So I feel like this guy might have written the graphic novel just...
I imagine it's just like, hey, well, we want to make a movie out of your graphic novel. How much are you going to give me? You can be in the movie. Okay. I'll give you $7 and you can be in the movie. You got it.
This is the best deal of my life.
This is sweet.
I think I agree with you on that one. Anyway, so based on a graphic novel that is, I'm guessing, somewhat obscure, it takes place...
Or should be, at least.
It takes place in modern day, so after the events of the
Well, that's not
novel.
technical. Well, most of the movie does. It doesn't start in modern day.
Yeah, it starts off with maybe a 5-minute scene of Frankenstein, like setting
normal
up
Frankenstein times 17 whatevers.
Yeah, it has one of those voiceovers where it kind of gives the events of the actual original novel, and shows just in the background you see it happening.
And then what's happened since.
Right, and then there's maybe a 5-minute sequence showing that right after Frankenstein the man dies from the
basically
cold.
at the end of the novel, introducing their storyline real quick, then jumping forward 200 years.
Yes, but the bulk of the movie is in modern day. And there is an underground war between gargoyles, who are actually angels, and demons, who I don't think the demons have any special names, right?
They're just called demons. I mean, the demons themselves have names.
Yeah.
Like
no. I mean, it's not like... So these gargoyles are just angels. I don't really know why they call them gargoyles.
Well, they would form into gargoyle form.
Yeah.
But they were sent by God. They are angels.
Yeah.
They're doing the mission of angels.
Right.
They can't be...
But the demons are in human form. You're not going to call them demon people
they
or
just
something.
wanted to be special and make, well, this makes Frankenstein, angels and demons, and gargoyles.
Yeah. So anyway, you've got this underground war between gargoyles and demons.
Seems like the gargoyles were angels that were specifically made to fight the demons on Earth.
Maybe. Yeah, because they're talking about reinforcements and stuff like that.
And not just do normal angel stuff like make sure your football team wins.
It's baseball team, Eric. The Angels are in the outfield. Yeah. God damn it!
I'm just talking about people like praying for their sports.
Oh,
team
I thought you were referencing.
No, but that is true too.
Yeah, the
but
Christopher Lloyd and Joseph Gordon-Levitt masterpiece, Angels in the Outfield, that I watched 100 times.
Wait, that was Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Who was? I thought it was Macchio. No, Macchio was the pitching one. What was that one called?
I don't know.
Not Major League. The one where his like elbow breaks, but it somehow gives him the ability to throw super fast.
I don't know that one.
All right.
I never cared about
if any of our listeners will tell us.
I never cared about Ralph Macchio as a kid. I cared about Joseph Gordon-Levitt though. And that holds true to this day.
Well, certainly to this day.
So I keep saying, starting back at the gargoyles versus demon fight, you've got the queen of the gargoyles, who is Miranda Otto from Lord of the Rings. She's Éowyn, one of the only 3 female speaking roles. And then you've got the head of the demons. I think they call him a prince, like Prince Nibirius or something.
Prince Nibirius, which actually made me think of the Planet X, Nibiru, that's supposed to come destroy everything. It's this weird conspiracy theory. That's all I could think about the whole movie. It was like Planet Nibiru, it's hiding behind the sun. It's going to wipe us out.
I wish I would have known that. Maybe I would have been more interested. But that is played by Bill Nighy. So get a little bit of class up this picture here.
Let's church it up a bit.
Except the problem was, whenever he was on screen, I just wanted to watch like Shaun of the Dead or
Hot Fuzz.
Yeah, even though he's only a small role in Hot Fuzz. And Frankenstein roams the earth sort of running from the demons because the demons are hunting him down. At this point, I don't think we're supposed to know that it's because he doesn't have a soul.
No, you don't know in the beginning. They try to, in the opening sequence before the 200-year time jump, he just finds out that Nibiru is trying to get him for whatever reason. They don't know why.
Yeah. I'm not going to go through the whole plot, but in the end, what it turns out is the demons want... I'm going to call him Frankenstein, too. I don't care that he's supposed to be Frankenstein.
Yeah, they even say in the movie, like, you are your father's son, so you'll be Adam Frankenstein, I guess.
They don't call him Frankenstein. They call him Adam. Right. And then at the end, he says, I shall take my father's name. I shall be Frankenstein.
Frankenstein.
But I'm not one of those people who gets all pedantic about Frankenstein's monsters. So I'm calling him Frankenstein this whole time. He does not have a soul. The demons want him because they can only possess people who don't have souls.
So to reinforce themselves, they're going to reanimate a bunch of dead bodies.
Yes,
and then possess them.
That they've collected.
Because apparently the demons and the gargoyles, there's a finite number of them. And there seems to be more demons because they're slightly weaker, but they're slowly beating the gargoyles, but they want to make thousands and thousands of more demons, but they have to have bodies to possess. Because they're not actually killing them. When you quote-unquote kill a demon, it just descends.
It sends it back. Yeah, it descends back to hell. When you kill a gargoyle, it ascends back to heaven.
And then
I said ascends really weird.
It
ascends.
Ascends.
And so, they're all just slowly dwindling, and the demons want this army of soulless bodies that they can possess, and
Don't we all?
Yeah.
I want a soulless body.
What more could a girl ask for?
I'm willing to trade looks for a certain moral, casual attitude.
Yeah. So the gargoyles are, they're trying to sort of corral Frankenstein and keep him with them.
To study him.
Not to study him.
The gargoyles, you said. Yeah, no, the gargoyles are trying to keep him away from the demons.
Right, so the demons are trying to get him to study him, and the gargoyles are trying to get him because they're upset that he killed one guy, and that's something really... Yeah.
Basically.
What?
He killed Frankenstein.
No, they were upset that he killed this fucking cop.
Oh, he didn't even kill the cop.
Yeah, they were just mad that the cop died while he was standing there watching.
The demon killed the cop while he was standing there.
Yeah, so the gargoyles are obsessed with every single human life, except there are only 3 people in the movie, so they don't have a lot to pay attention to.
Right.
Anyway, at the end, the demon prince... manages to summon a demon to possess Frankenstein, but he magically has a soul then.
We can't possess you. You actually do have a soul.
Yeah, we just missed it this whole time.
Well, they never explained whether he was supposed to have it this whole... Because if he had it the whole time, then the whole movie falls apart because all the other corpses wouldn't have been
We'll talk about it in the structure section. We'll talk about that more. Anyways, he magically has a soul now. Demon can't possess him. He's able to kill the demon prince.
By drawing on him.
Yeah. And then the gargoyles win, yay, and he walks into the sunset to fight demons forever.
And bang the blonde scientist.
Does she? She doesn't go with him, does she?
She goes with him. Come on. Come on. She's going to go with him.
Off screen, she goes with him. On screen, I'm pretty sure she hangs back with the gargoyles, right?
Right. Well, they both get like rescued, and they're just being held by the.
But he does legitimately like walk off into.
Sort of.
Yeah. I'd say sunset, but there's no sun in this movie. It's just dark mushiness.
Of some nondescript European city.
So he walks into a dark European void to go fight demons, and they hope to God that somebody liked this movie enough to do a franchise, and everyone said, no thanks.
Everyone said, what movie?
Yeah. Huh? Who, Frankenstein? So the purpose of this podcast is not necessarily detailed summaries, as you've been
even
able to
though
tell.
We're really good at it.
Yeah, clearly. I had a lot of difficulty recalling this one. We just watched it yesterday.
And then the thing, and the guy with the thing, and the end.
We just watched it yesterday. I've got notes in front of me for it, and it's still kind of like left my brain.
I don't have a problem recalling it. What do you want to know? I'll tell you.
No, we'll talk about it more in all of the sections. But the real point of this podcast is the rating system. So we have 3 different categories that Eric and I will each award points in. Acting, visuals, and structure are the categories. And we can give anywhere from 0 to 5 points in each. At the end, I'll total up all the points that each movie gets from each of us, and whichever one gets the most points is considered the better movie. So starting off with acting, I'm going to give my score first.
Go for it.
And I feel like we're going to be all over the place with these scores. I don't think we're going to match each other on this
Probably
one.
Not.
I gave it a 2.
I also gave it a 2.
Oh, well, maybe we'll match perfectly.
But for me, a big chunk of that was, acting in and of itself wasn't really noteworthy, good or bad, but the fact that there was like no one in this movie, first of all, which I don't know if that's really a casting thing, kind of is, I guess. The casting in and of itself was very, I want to say haphazard, and I don't really necessarily like the people in the roles that they were in.
Yeah.
And the acting wasn't great. I mean, you had people who were competent actors, like Aaron Eckhart, Bill Nighy, that woman, even the guy from, I can't remember the guy's name. Wait, I know this.
Jai Courtney.
Why didn't you let me remember it? They're not bad actors, but they're just, I don't know, it just seemed like they were out of place. A lot of them.
Well, first of all, Aaron Eckhart, I think he was miscast. I don't think he was the right person for the role. I don't think he looked the part. He certainly didn't act the part. I'm assuming he's a good actor. I haven't actually seen him in a lot of stuff.
No,
like
not major roles.
Olympus Has Fallen, Battlefield Earth, obviously Dark Knight.
Right.
But, he's not someone that's really on my radar very much.
Stands out as being like, that guy is a good actor.
Yeah, maybe he is, and I just haven't seen him in the right movies. But in this one, he was too muted.
He could physically, like, he wasn't big enough or scary enough looking.
Yeah, he was the wrong person for the role. They got him because he has a big square head, and they liked that, and he's reasonably attractive and has a name that people kind of recognize, and they were wanting to do a sexy Frankenstein.
Right, they should have gotten, like, Bas Rutten or somebody to be
Frankenstein.
I mean,
I even wrote down, this could have been, like, in the 80s, this could have been a Dolph Lundgren role.
Or, Batista or somebody.
Yeah.
He would have been good in this movie.
I was even kind of thinking, could Jason Momoa have done this part? Not with the long hair. And the long hair is kind of Jason Momoa's
And they would never make a brown Frankenstein back in the 1700s. Give me a break.
It depends on what bodies you can find. Come on.
True. Part brown.
So anyway, acting, part of my acting score is were the parts cast well.
Right,
and I think that Aaron
so.
Eckhart, on top of not really doing a great job, was not cast very well. Miranda Otto didn't even care about her. She did her part just fine. Bill Nighy did his part just fine.
Right.
The scientist lady, I didn't even barely remember her. I don't even remember her name. I'm not even going to look it up.
Yeah.
It's not worth it.
It was that character seemed kind of shoehorned in.
I will say I disagree with you on Jai Courtney. I think he's a bad actor.
You do think he's bad?
He was fine in Jack Reacher.
That's what I mean. I don't think he's bad. I think he needs the right type of role. And he didn't stand out in this movie because his acting was bad, I don't think. He just doesn't seem...
He just doesn't make...
He's one of those people that doesn't... He seems out of place in most roles.
He does, and he doesn't make any facial expressions.
Right.
So, and even the facial expressions he does make, they're not necessarily menacing. So he was really good in Jack Reacher because he was a good combination.
Stoic henchman, kind of.
He was a good henchman who also was like smart and could run things on his own and handle things and level-headed, and he wasn't just a big bad meanie. Because he doesn't make enough facial expressions to look like a big bad meanie. I don't know. I don't like Jai Courtney. When he shows up and stuff, I kind of go, ugh. And I feel like Hollywood went through a phase where they really tried to make him a thing, and I'm grateful that
starting with Die Hard 5 or whatever it was.
I'm grateful that phase is over. They did that with Sam Worthington too, so it was kind of like after they realized Sam Worthington wasn't going to actually be a thing, then they tried with this like Jai Courtney guy. They're like, well, he's from Australia too.
They just have to find some Australian with a round head to put in movies.
Yeah.
They're like, which one of these? I don't care. Pick one.
Yeah. And then they're like, shit. Nobody fell for it, man. They didn't go for it. So I'm happy he's not in movies anymore. And he kind of he didn't torpedo the movie or anything, but he certainly wasn't good. So yeah.
I didn't really like the other gargoyles either. They weren't great.
Nope, they were bad.
And again, they were like there was only several characters in this movie, probably 5 or 6 that are in a significant amount of the movie.
Yeah.
And beyond that, there wasn't even just people. It's like this whole movie felt like it was in a deserted city.
Completely empty.
Right.
No people anywhere. You have a lot of gargoyles, a lot of demons.
Flying around, no one's seeing any of this.
4 main speaking characters, and then that was it. The streets are always empty. Every once in a while, they'll throw a person there.
There was one
if that
club
person
scene, and that was about the most people you'd ever seen in the movie was they walk into some nightclub for a few minutes.
Yeah, but the acting that did stood out for bad reasons, so that's why it's getting a 2 out of 5. So,
Same here. I think it would be close to average, whatever, if it wasn't for a little bit of bad acting and terrible casting.
Yeah. So visuals. Tell me your visuals.
I gave it a 1.5.
I did a 1. So okay. So far we're still pretty close.
Because it was special effects. None of them were quote unquote bad. I mean, like in the sense that I didn't like the way they looked. But
I'm giving Eric a crazy face over here.
I don't think that
these were sci-fi movie level special effects.
You're right. You're right.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking of
I think you're getting.
Because I wrote it down 1.5, but I meant was because it was like the birdemic flapping.
Yeah,
at that one
there
point.
was one point where the gargoyles are hovering because they're waiting for something to happen, and they literally look like birdemic, like bird flapping
so it does
wings.
Look bad.
So it looks terrible. Whenever a demon gets killed and gets descended, it's this fireball, this swirling fireball that goes down into the ground.
And it looks kind of goofy, but. Like, the fire effect wasn't terrible for that. It just looked like...
It just looks stupid.
It looks stupid. And that's what I meant, was that most of the stuff, aside from, like, the gargoyle and a few other times, most of it is bad because it looks stupid, not because it looks especially bad special effects. Like, most of the demon effects looked fine in terms of the computer for a movie like this.
Yeah, but
obviously they weren't setting any records, but like when it would peel away and have the demon face underneath the human, that wasn't terrible special effects. It was just goofy looking.
But it looks stupid. So the demons obviously look like people for most of it, but every once in a while they'll show their true demon face. And whenever that happens,
particular reason.
For no reason, just because, they got some of the budget doled out at that point, so they were able.
Left. What are we gonna do?
Yeah, so they were able to get a computer graphic design artist in there to make a demon face. But whenever they went from people to demon, like their people face would burn off and actual like ashes would come off of it and there would be a demon face under it. I'm like, what are you telling me is happening? Are you telling me that they're regenerating a person face, like actual tissue and stuff after that?
It's supposed to be supernatural or something.
But it looked stupid to me.
And then obviously part of the visual look of the movie was what we already mentioned about how there's nobody in it. Everything seemed deserted. Just bizarre stuff like that.
Yeah.
I actually didn't mind most of the fighting. That was okay. They had some fairly decent choreography when he had like his sticks and stuff, but it wasn't anything that was super impressive or made up for anything.
Yeah.
And a lot of other aspects of those same scenes would usually kind of distract you from it.
I didn't always know what was going on
with
the fights.
Visually.
They were very muddled. So you're right. There was one decent fight that even had us cracking up because of a sound effect.
Yes, so good. And that's the warehouse fight with the main demon.
That fight itself was okay because it was the main demon dude, the best fighter.
They each had sticks, like collie sticks, and they were fighting. But then when he got blasted with the stick in the stomach, and he's like, "Ah!" And then he goes to get up, so he jumps up. This is Frankenstein. Jumps up, and then he does this yell that sounds like he had already breathed out all his air for like 15 minutes. So it's he goes, "Ah!" And I was like, what? So we had to rewind it. And it's seriously like if you breathe all your air out, like, and then you try to yell again, like, "Ah!"
So it makes it worse because this yell is supposed to be kind of a battle cry. Like
it wasn't an injury. He jumps up and is doing an aggressive yell before he charges or whatever. And it's like,
But it was just this horrible ADR work, and I can't believe they didn't like go. Can we do another round of that yell,
like
Aaron?
A T-Rex roar or something. Roar.
Right. So even the one decent fight was, we were just cracking up at it. So the fights are lousy. The
fights with him were usually okay. Any of the gargoyle stuff was goofy.
Yeah.
His particular stuff was fine. I mean, it wasn't impressive, but it was fine. Whatever.
Yeah, and the look of it is just this dank, dark, empty, vaguely European city. And the gargoyles live in a castle, so there's this huge castle in the middle of this city, and are we supposed to believe that nobody sees this?
It appears like there's approximately 7 gargoyles in this place. There's just not that many characters in this movie.
Yeah. Also, one part of the visuals is I always like to comment on the attractiveness of the cast. I don't like Jai Courtney, his big
I just don't think
face.
there's anything in here one way or the other.
Yeah.
I
think they thought Aaron Eckhart was going to be better looking than he was. They very clearly were going for sexy Frankenstein.
Right.
There were a significant number of shirtless scenes, but Aaron Eckhart is like, he's in really great shape, but he's in like old guy shape, like
Randy Couture selling you a fitness equipment or something.
No, not even that level. It's more like Tom Cruise. To where
you're like, this guy's 50. Wow, nice work.
Yeah. Like if you were,
but now you're gonna buy a calendar of Aaron Eckhart.
Yeah, if you were a 50-year-old woman, you'd be happy if your husband was in that.
Well, he was 200 years old in the movie.
True. Yeah.
Dead.
I'd be impressed if someone I knew who was in his mid to late 40s, which Aaron Eckhart looked like that, but I didn't really want to see it on screen.
Especially because they always had this kind of like dirty look to him where he's
dressed like a fucking hobo.
I mean, like physically he looked dirty.
Yeah, he looked dirty, and he was wearing a hoodie with a trench coat over it, so he looked like an actual homeless person, and they really went overboard with the scars. They're just crisscross all over his face.
Totally random places.
Yeah, as if he was put together from 100 different Aaron Eckharts. Like, it didn't look pieced together from different things. It just looked like somebody took Aaron Eckhart, ripped him apart
and sewed him back together.
Yeah,
it wasn't. They weren't strategically placed for any particular.
And again,
reason.
Visually speaking, he's way too small. He's not a small man in real life. He's 6 feet tall, but he needed to be like 6'4", 6'5", because they're always talking about how strong he is, and he's supposed to be
this creature.
He's supposed to be a monster. He's supposed to be Frankenstein's monster, and he's just a little bigger than average guy who's in good old guy shape. So I think the visuals,
TRT shape.
Yeah, he got some good HGH.
Right.
Whatever. So the visuals were a total dud. I would say.
I think, for me, the worst special effects were the gargoyles themselves.
Yes.
They looked terrible. The rest of the effects were bad because it was just bad looking choices, not necessarily
bad design.
Bad design choices, but the special effects other than that weren't really terrible.
Right.
No real note. I didn't really notice any of the physical effects. Nothing noteworthy. Like, if he has a cut and they have to stitch it up, that looked fine. Any of the little explosions looked not terrible, whatever. But
yeah, I mean, this is a PG-13 movie, so there wasn't much in the way of wounds or anything like that.
I'm just saying the normal physical effects of
that was fine.
The movie.
And the scientist lady is just, she's pretty. She's a sort of generically pretty blonde lady. She definitely did not look like a world-class electrophysiologist or something. And
would have like a mustache and be all fat, probably.
Yeah, for some reason she, even beyond just, maybe she was a little too young, or I'm not entirely sure.
It just seemed like an odd choice for the role. The whole character though was shoehorned in, so it wasn't even necessarily her fault. They really just forced this character in there to meet certain plot elements that they needed.
They needed a lady.
Yeah, they needed a lady. A pseudo love interest, but not really.
They needed her to give googly eyes to his nice old man torso at some point, and that was all they really needed from her. So that'll help us transition into structure. What did you give structure?
I gave also 1.5.
I did 1.5 also. So we are only half a point off. I was a little worried that you were going to rank it a lot more highly than me. Yeah, because you said something at the beginning about being surprised that it was a 3%. So I guess I was like,
just because with the movies we've watched that have been in the 14s, 15s, 20s, and like this movie is 3%, like it's not good at all. It's bad.
It's because you can't in good conscience recommend it to anybody.
It's same with any of those other movies.
True. It kind of doesn't have anything for anyone. It's just it's just the worst. The thing that struck me about it was, and I think I also said this about Priest, but this couldn't have been any better, really. Except
there
for
wasn't
the visuals.
any particular thing that they messed up. You would have had to tweak and just remake the whole movie.
It was a bad idea to try, because what it was trying to do...
Other than beyond the idea of, let's take the mythos of Frankenstein and mix it with something else, you'd have to go that far back, basically, in the process and start from there.
Well, they basically were trying to make Frankenstein a superhero.
Which, that's the idea that, okay, maybe you can make a good movie with that. You probably could. But that's such a vague, basic idea from this movie that everything else would have to be scrapped, really.
Yeah, so I don't know how much of that is from the graphic novels, or if the graphic novels were just...
I'm guessing it includes the demons and the gargoyles aspect of it, too. But.
Right. But, the structure is bad because you never really get a clear sense of...
well, there's a lot that I wrote down about the structure.
Yeah, like what the monster's powers are is like, can he not really get hurt?
You find out fairly quickly that for some reason he basically lives forever.
Yeah.
No explanation as to why that would be the case.
The explanation they gave was he was the first of his kind, so he must last a long time, which is a complete non sequitur.
It doesn't make any sense.
What do you mean?
He was born in Estonia, so obviously he has to live a long time.
Right, just because he was the first means he would last a long time?
That's one of the things I wrote down is there was way too much narration in the beginning. They had to basically do 5 to 10 minutes of narrated scenes to set the stage, to explain all the goofy stuff that they wanted to.
They basically opened up the novel and read the last few pages, and then they closed that, and then they probably opened up the graphic novel and read the first few pages from that. So yeah, a lot of narration. Nothing is accomplished with character interactions or anything like that. It's just all narration.
Right. So, and then plot-wise, there were a bunch of weird mistakes. So first of all, one of the things I wrote down was about the journal. They find the Dr. Frankenstein's journal on the body that apparently the creature had not even basically frisked, because it was this big book just stuck in his coat and he had just thrown him in the grave and didn't find it. So the gargoyles found that and apparently explains everything about how he built him, what his motivations were. And so the creature, Adam, he finds this later, reads it. Oh, he knows everything now, whatever. But then at that point, the demons want that because it explains how to create him and new bodies. But he still is protecting the book.
The demons don't know it exists.
At this point, they did.
Okay.
The demons found out it exists before or at the same time that Aaron Eckhart did.
Okay, yeah.
But then they figure out they can use the book, but then he reads it. Okay, I know he'd want to read it, so he keeps it for that. But then knowing that the demons wanted and could use it, why do you need it anymore?
Absolutely.
He keeps protecting the book at that point. It's why would you want to keep it intact?
Why would the gargoyles have kept it intact? Because it freaked the gargoyles out, because they were like, it shows that not just God can create life now. So they thought it was actually sacrilegious and an abomination.
Right.
So instead of just destroying it like they should have, because they have no purpose for it, they put it in a vault where, of course, it can get stolen.
So that was just a plot element. But then throughout the whole movie, they're explaining to you that he doesn't have a soul, all this nonsense, because he was created by man, not by God. And that was the whole premise of the movie, is why the demons want him, is because he doesn't have a soul. So if they can build a bunch of soulless bodies, they can possess them. But there's two things that's weird for us. First of all, if he didn't have a soul, they're always trying to get him and capture him. So if he didn't have a soul the entire movie,
right,
why didn't they possess him at any point?
Which they say over and over that he doesn't have a soul the entire movie.
And they need a soulless body to be able to possess it. So why didn't they possess him anytime? And then at the end, they find out, he does have a soul for no particular reason. You have no idea why.
I'm smiling because I know why.
Oh, did the director make a Wikipedia page?
It might have been the graphic novelist this time.
You mean the extra?
Yeah.
One of the extras wrote a Wikipedia page. You mean I'm the author?
Yeah.
Did he even get a writing credit, or did they just make him extra henchman? Anyways, what does Wikipedia tell us about it?
He got a writing credit. And actually,
was it True Love?
He's one of the highest billed actors, because there's only 4 actors in it anyway. It's because
True Love. This blessed arrangement.
It's because he grew his own soul, because he learned to stop being selfish, and he learned his purpose.
Okay, as dumb as that is, you still should have explained it something in the movie.
No one said that
in the movie. He really has one. Yeah. So then you're thinking, well, why don't these other bodies, which is another point that's funny, because apparently Bill Nighy, who is Nibirius, is a demon, but he's also posing as this extremely successful businessman. Mm-hmm. And he's been planning to do this somehow for a long time. So he's been collecting corpses for centuries, he said.
Right.
But that's ridiculous because the technology wasn't reanimating dead corpses. It was building a new body and then injecting life into it somehow.
Yeah.
So he has a bunch of 100-year-old bodies sitting there.
just hanging
there, not even
everywhere.
necessarily being preserved in any particular way. And if they were, it somehow ended up being the exact way that they needed to be preserved before they even knew how to do it.
Yeah.
And then he's like, okay, guess what? We figured out how to do it. Now we have thousands of bodies. And when they start the process, this little emblem on the bodies lights up that says reanimation 3%. And it's like a Windows program.
It's like they didn't even know how they were going to do this.
But they knew how to measure it and put a little dial on them that showed how much reanimated they were. Like, what would a 75% reanimated body look like if you cut the process off?
Yeah, how would you measure that?
Right.
Yeah, what's going on?
It was such a bizarre choice that they didn't show that on a screen that the doctors had just created for the process or something. It was on these bodies.
It was on every single
century-old body that had been hanging there.
And it wasn't the same time for every body, right?
Well, that's not necessarily that weird, depending on what the process would be. That whatever. But they kept not really or using the same idea of whether they were reanimating or creating life. Because, of course, the idea is creating life. That's why he didn't have a soul. That's what the technology was, blah, blah, blah. But then Bill Nighy, to get the girl doctor to work with him, kills her colleague and is like, you have to be able to bring him back now. So if you don't solve this, you can't bring him back. And like, they still won't be able to bring him back. They would just reanimate his body, if nothing else.
It would just be a soulless body. Yeah.
His body with a new life injected into it.
Yeah.
Who maybe could eventually grow a new soul, apparently. If he
or
learns
become
to love,
a demon.
Or become a demon. But you can't nothing in the movie suggested that they could resurrect someone and have them be themselves again.
Yeah. No, you're completely right. It wasn't good. The whole
right.
the whole setup, plot, character motivations, nothing about it was good.
Very
and I did like that Wikipedia had to tell me about the soul.
Right. And there was
these movies, we've come across this multiple times to where something happens, you're like, I don't know why that was, and then I go on Wikipedia and read it in the plot synopsis. I'm like, did we miss somebody saying that? Are we just that bad at watching movies?
Who knows? With the way they edit these movies or the narrations, you could cut out one little scene and the whole plot falls apart because they just interject something like that.
Right.
There was also, he finds out early in the movie by accident, when he first accidentally kills a demon, that you have to have, nothing can kill the demons except something with the gargoyle symbol on it.
Yeah.
But it can be literally anything. Like, you could paint the gargoyle symbol on a can of soup and smash them in the head with it, and they'll die. So that was kind of lame in my mind.
Oh, incredibly lame. And it turns out that he kills the main bad guy
by literally drawing the symbol on his...
by scratching the symbol on his stomach, and then he just
cuts
explodes.
him a couple lines, doesn't hurt him. So then he cuts him a final line that finishes the symbol, and then he explodes and kills all the other demons. Somehow.
Eric was really rooting for, hoping that he was going to cut the symbol on his knuckles and then punch
him?
the guy to death.
Yeah, punch him to death.
I'm a little
with his
disappointed
fist.
that didn't happen. I thought that would have been a pretty rad idea.
We both failed in this regard. So the way they show him, he makes a knife, he scratches a symbol in it, he makes a bat, they have the symbol on it. I knew at some point, I was like, I just know he's going to scratch it on some bullets and start blasting demons.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's all he had to do is blade style, like scratch the cross. It was just a cross with an extra arm or two.
They really missed out on that opportunity.
The yen symbol kind of, or the yuan symbol, sorry, that has, it's like a tree with three lines. That's kind of what it looks like.
Yeah, it's a vertical line and then a few horizontal lines. It's a really, really simple symbol. You could absolutely
and you just have to draw
take a
it.
shitload
In fact,
of bullets.
They just had water that was in a basin that included the symbol on the basin became toxic to the demons. So it was really, really lame kind of mythology.
They really missed out on the opportunity to
have fists of death.
Gargoyle fists punching these guys.
Blasting them open.
Yeah. So, I mean, overall, let me run through the scores again. I gave it a 2, 1, and 1.5 for a total of 4.5. You gave it a 2,
1.5, 1.5
for a total of 5. All right, so that is a total of 9.5.
Sure.
Yeah, that's a rockin' movie right there. Overall, it wasn't...
Not deserving of a 3%,
It wasn't a totally miserable experience.
Because at least you are slightly engaged in what's going on, even though it's goofy.
And we kind of were like trying to guess what was going to happen next, and got a certain amount of enjoyment from that. We got enjoyment from rewinding and listening to the his Frankenstein's battle cry. Like
that of a newborn babe.
Right, and mostly it was just inoffensively boring, whatever. I'll watch Frankenstein battle some demons. I will say I get the feeling if I tried to sit down and watch this movie again, I'd be pissed.
It'd probably be really hard to sit through the second time.
I don't know that I could sit through another viewing of this.
Because a lot of it is just not quite knowing and wanting to see what happens, knowing what happens, and that it doesn't really make sense and it's kind of lame. It would be very hard to sit through again.
And it's a tough movie to tell someone to watch just to see how bad it is because it's just so
I bet it would be a good
bland.
riff tracks.
Yeah.
There's enough going on because the only movies that make terrible riff tracks are ones that don't have enough going on to even riff on. This had enough stuff going on and enough of it was kind of goofy that it would be pretty easy to riff. I remember making a couple decent jokes.
it was an okay movie to sit through. Moving on to our next Flaccid Frankenstein flop is
that's such a good name.
Victor Frankenstein from 2015 with, as I said before, a whopping 24% on Rotten Tomatoes. So
they're claiming to be somewhere in the neighborhood of 3 times as or 8 times as good.
8 times
as good.
Yeah, if the scoring system on Rotten Tomatoes was accurate, Victor Frankenstein would be 8 times as good. Quick synopsis of that one. This is told from the perspective of Igor. It starts off with Igor.
The sort of hunchback.
Yeah. As it turns out, he's not actually a hunchback.
Right.
Hunchback. It starts off with him in a circus as the hunchback, an unnamed hunchback, who also doubles as a doctor because he's a genius.
When they're not beating him and stuffing him in a cage, he fixes them all, apparently.
They are comically abusive toward him,
right.
Although he's their doctor and one of the performers. It's never really explained why he would be treated any worse than any of the other circus freaks.
Freak shows. Or where he came from.
Yeah, but this follows the theme of the entire movie. Every single character only exists to somehow torment Igor or Frankenstein. Right. So this is so they start that right
with the
from
exception
the
of the girl.
Right, yeah, except for the girl who only exists for,
to have no chemistry with anyone.
Yeah, so there's a little teaser for the scores. Anyway, it starts off with the circus.
I think we're going to be a little different on this one, though.
I think we'll be different on this one, too. So we'll see. The last couple times I've said that, we've gotten it almost like hitting the nail on the head. But this one, I do think we're going to be a little bit different. And it makes me kind of want to change my score. I think I'm going to regret my scoring on this. So let's get through the synopsis, and then we'll see.
Okay.
Starts off with...
Blah, blah. Anyways. Frankenstein.
Yeah.
James McAvoy spitting. End of the movie.
The first few minutes...
He didn't spit a lot in this movie.
Yeah. And I was like, did they add that after?
I was like, why does he have to
did he
spit
just
so much?
Work
he's
up
like, wait,
a
they're
really...
like, action. He's like, wait, I don't have enough spit going. Give me a few more seconds.
Wait, can we do another take on that
have
one?
Any hard candy?
Get some vitamin C.
I need to be frothing that in this scene.
Give me some Alka-Seltzer tablets.
He's like, literally frothing as he's speaking. There's foam pouring out of his mouth.
I didn't actually make a note of that, but with you saying it, definitely. And starring James McAvoy's saliva.
Because I kept just being, oh my.
Anyway, so first few minutes, Igor, no, he doesn't have a name yet. He's the hunchback.
Nameless. They don't refer to him as anything.
No, he is the hunchback in the circus. He's basically trapped there. He's imprisoned there,
Even basically. The nice people, like the woman who apparently he had a good rapport with, had not thought to give him any sort of nickname.
Yeah. And this, you would never do that to a person in real life. You'd call them something.
Even if it was a pejorative type nickname, it would still be a nickname.
Even like hey, shorty.
Or hunchy or whatever.
Right. Yeah. So in this circus, everyone treats him horribly except this one acrobat, who is the girl that we have alluded to a couple of times. During the performance one night, the acrobat girl falls off of her. Does her trapeze break?
The rope breaks.
The rope breaks and she falls. Since he is also the doctor,
he shuffles over.
He shuffles over. Frankenstein is in attendance there also as just like a circus goer. And since I guess he's a doctor as well.
He was there for some sort of... Remember, he had that paw. He was there to collect animal parts.
Right, but ostensibly at this point in the movie, you think he's just... He's just a patron.
You don't know why he's there,
yeah. So Igor, the hunchback, and Frankenstein end up over this girl's body. She's not dead yet, but she's dying. And,
not breathing.
Yeah, and Igor saves her life. And Frankenstein is very impressed by this.
With his medical knowledge.
Yes. So he decides to break Igor, the hunchback out of the captivity of this circus. So there's this long, pointless fight scene of them getting out of the circus.
Like a chase scene.
Right, chase scene. And then now the hunchback goes and lives with Frankenstein. he gives him the name of his former roommate, which is Igor. So now he's like, oh, I have a name. I am Igor. And the movie is them sort of perfecting the experiments and making their creature. I thought that was such a bizarre, why not just make the Hunchback's name Igor, and that's how he meets him. It was a real weird, kind of nonsensical choice. Completely pointless.
Not have a name. They just wanted it to seem more dramatic that he had like given him a new life.
Because he's supposed to be like, oh, I don't live in the circus anymore. I've never not lived in the circus. And then, okay, you have a name. I have a name. I've never not had a name. Yeah, I've never not had a name.
I've never taken a shower.
Yeah, I'm going to cut my hair. I've never cut my hair. These are all things that like he does. Except he only cuts a couple, like the split ends off his hair. So he gives himself a little trim up. And
this was after his miraculous 5-second chiropractic cure
of the hunchbackedness.
Where apparently the hunch was just a big fluid sac that was making him walk hunched over.
Right.
So he like literally slams him against a pillar to like crack his back, sort of like in the best chiropractic adjustment since The Dark Knight Rises, where he's in the prison punch to the spine. Yeah. Oh, it was also one of the best movie screams ever. Goes, oh, I really like that one.
It doesn't compare to the Frankenstein scream.
Not in hilariousness.
Sorry. Right. Yeah.
It's got more body, more depth.
Yeah. So anyway, like Eric says, he fixes his hunchbackedness because it's not a hunchback, it's actually an abscess. So he drains the abscess.
He didn't die from sepsis or something.
Right,
having
from a
18 years of a
abscess.
20-pound abscess on his back.
Yeah, so he drains the abscess, he fixes his spine, so now he's 5'2" Daniel Radcliffe.
At least he's not hunchback.
Yeah, in all of his glory. At least they kind of keep up that he doesn't really walk all that well, so there was a little bit of continuity.
I almost liked that they just moved on from that. Like, okay, he's not a hunchback anymore. Just move on. Just deal with it.
Yeah, because you seemed like you were going to be bothered. When they showed how Daniel Radcliffe was walking as the hunchback, Eric was like, how's he going to keep this up the whole movie?
I just thought about, it was duck walking, basically, and I was thinking that's incredibly difficult to do for more than a few steps as the actor.
Right.
And I was like, he's going to do this for the whole movie? It'd be painful.
Yeah. So most of the movie is these two creating a creature. The girl comes back into their life because they end up at a ball together, and now she doesn't work at the circus anymore. She works in some sort of cabaret show. She develops a relationship with Igor. Frankenstein gets this rich dude as his benefactor /
patron.
Boss. Yeah, patron maybe is a better word.
Well, it's after they do an initial experiment where they resurrect a dead or a reconstructed chimpanzee.
Yeah.
This guy sees it, realizes the potential of controlling resurrection technology or life technology, so he starts funding his research.
Yeah. And throughout the course of this entire movie, there is this detective who is just...
He sort of, to me, he looked like, not character-wise reminded me, but he reminded me of the guy who plays Moriarty in the new...
There's reason for that.
Is it the same guy?
Because it's him.
But he looked taller for some reason. I guess it's just
because he's standing next to Daniel Radcliffe
instead of
Benedict Cumberbatch.
So he's that 12-inch difference.
So it turns out at 5'10" or something, he's head and shoulders above the main person in this movie.
Even McAvoy is not that tall.
Yeah, I think McAvoy, I looked at IMDb, says McAvoy is 5'7", and he's like half a head taller than Daniel Radcliffe. And every time he talks to him, he kind of like bends over to be on face. To be on face level.
Yeah, Radcliffe's got to be 5'3" or something.
Yeah, and the girl looks huge next to Radcliffe.
She's probably wearing heels and stuff.
There's no reason to put her in heels, though. You never see her shoes. It would be better to have her in flat shoes. Yeah, maybe she's
just 5'5" and just a few inches taller than him.
So IMDb says she's 5'5". It also says Radcliffe is 5'5". There is no way. He's such a small man. Anyway, so Moriarty is trying to catch Frankenstein this whole time because he has an obsession with the fact that Frankenstein is trying to create life.
And that offends his delicate Catholic sensibilities, apparently.
Yeah, or something. And the movie ends with them at the rich guy's estate, bringing the humanoid creature to life, and then
the real Frankenstein's monster, not the chimpanzee,
and then immediately killing it. And
I immediately regret this decision. Kill the monster.
Yeah,
I felt bad for the monster. He didn't do anything.
Yeah, the monster was just defending himself, man. So they immediately kill it, and then they go their separate ways. They both survive. They all three survive, and it ends with Frankenstein writing a letter to Igor saying, I'm going to need you to help me do this again.
Take 2, movie sequel.
Right. So moving on to the ratings portion for this one. For acting, I think this might be I don't know. I might end up changing my scores on this one. Let's see. I gave it a 2.5.
I gave it a 1.5.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. So...
I thought it suffered very greatly from, again, the casting I think was terrible. Not necessarily in each individual role, but like across from each other, none of these people work. And I think it suffers from pretty significant overacting.
Yes.
On the part of McAvoy, Moriarty. What's that guy's name?
Oh, shit.
Whatever that
Give me
actor
just a
is. The
second.
Moriarty actor.
I'm just going to call him Moriarty.
I don't really like Daniel Radcliffe's acting in most things.
Yeah, so...
And the woman was like a block of wood, I think.
I agree with you. McAvoy was massively overacting, but I felt like he had nothing to work with, and he was just desperately trying to make this character work.
I do, but that doesn't mean it's excusable.
Right.
Spitting everywhere and everything.
Yeah. This one... I think I struggled the most with this score out of any of them. Because I was going to go between a 2 or a 2.5. And I kind of gave it the extra half because he was trying so goddamn hard. Eric, he just wanted us to believe him.
But like I said, casting was a big part of it for me too.
Yeah.
There was no chemistry between the girl and Zero. There was very little chemistry between this supposed relationship between McAvoy and Harry Potter.
Oh, they were supposed to have a very close
like you gave
friendship.
Me new life.
Yeah.
I feel indebted to you. You're not my servant. You're my partner. But it just didn't. It wasn't.
And it waffled
working.
back and forth and not in a good way. So
right.
I think what I struggled with was
this
that
writing?
The actor's fault or was that the writer's fault?
I saw enough of goofy acting that I sort of just lowered the score.
Okay.
Because it's casting too.
Yeah, so I think Daniel Radcliffe was poorly cast. I'm getting the feeling every time I see Daniel Radcliffe on screen that it could just be Elijah Wood and it would be better.
Yeah, I don't think McAvoy was poorly cast. He was fine for that role. The role of Moriarty's character I don't think should have existed. I don't necessarily think he was a bad actor. The character was just so fake that you sort of, there was no way to do, because it was a ridiculous character with ridiculous non-motives.
Yeah.
So there was no way to do it other than overacting.
Yeah.
Or it being weirdly bizarre.
Yeah.
So I don't necessarily think that was his fault.
No, and I agree with you, and that's why.
But the woman was wooden. Radcliffe was.
That's why I struggled so much with this one, because I was like, I think it's more the characterization. So you know what? I'm gonna stick with my 2.5.
Yeah, I don't think that's a ridiculous rating.
I'm giving them credit for trying so hard, especially McAvoy. He spit on everything. I mean, he's just spitting all over the place. What else can you do? He just wants us to believe this stupid, horribly written character. So I'm giving him credit because I think he is a good actor. And Daniel Radcliffe, whatever. And yeah, you're right. The girl is nothing. Moriarty shouldn't even exist. The girl shouldn't have even existed.
No,
anyway.
It was unnecessary too because it didn't really factor into anything.
Yep.
Other than the only reason the whole girl character was there was so that McAvoy could witness the medical prowess of the hunchback.
Yeah.
But they could have made that a non-character. He didn't have to be in love with this woman for that to have happened. It could have been any other person.
It could have just been, yeah.
The random trapeze girl falls. He goes and fixes her.
Right. The love story accomplishes nothing it shouldn't have
And it didn't work.
Yeah. So I think we've said enough about acting. I can't really blame you, but I'm going to keep my 2.5. So how did you feel about the visuals?
I said 2.
I said 2.5.
Because they were slightly beneath average overall, but mostly it was, again, things that was just poor decisions. Not like the hunchback. I don't know, a lot of it didn't play well. But overall, sets and stuff was decent. I like the way they made the monster look in the end. He was pretty cool looking.
This one, I mostly just don't have a lot to say about it.
Right.
So 3 is usually what I give stuff that I don't notice either way. I dropped this one down because Daniel Radcliffe is just so creepy looking and he's so small and he's weird when he smiles and his hair was ugly and it just kind of pissed me off more than anything. So I didn't like having him on screen. So I think he kind of took away the half point for me. Otherwise, I agree with everything that you're saying. The creature effects / character design is okay. Yeah, the way that the monster looked at the end was good. The original creature that they did also, which was like, what they call it?
It was a chimpanzee.
But what'd you call it? What they
called it Harold or something.
Homunculus?
Oh yeah, homunculus.
Yeah.
This is a word that means a small human shape.
Yeah,
character.
I've heard you say that word before. I just don't know what it is. So
I said, they originally thought that before this movie probably took place, but they originally thought that sperm were tiny humans that would implant in the woman and then grow to full size, and that was called a homunculus.
Okay.
Because they didn't have the idea of like a separate sperm and an egg or DNA, so it was just you're implanting a tiny person in the woman and it grows.
Yeah.
So then the term just became something to like tribes of midgets or pygmies could sometimes be called homunculi or whatever, so that's what they called, or some sort of Cro-Magnon. That's what he called this basically chimpanzee ape that he created.
Okay. Yes.
called it a homunculus.
Yeah, but it was from like a lot of different species. It wasn't just, it was this really ugly,
lumpy chimpanzee ape thing.
Yeah, and that one looked fine.
It looked better on the table when it was running around. The CG was a little goofy, not terrible, but not good looking.
Overall, the visuals were not offensive, but they
were. I think most of the visual element that cost points here was choices, not effects.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They
like
had a lot
slow motion in that scene at the
random
beginning
slow
in the
motion.
circus.
Well, he would slide for no reason, and they would just add a slow motion element. You could tell they would come up with some effect or prop that they thought was really impactful visually, and it just wouldn't be like the eyes in the tank, and and it's just not that good looking.
And they kept like superimposing drawing and anatomy drawings on things
as the guys study the corpse. You'd be this bone here, this heart here.
That was a little bit of a Sherlock holdover too, but they do it a lot better in Sherlock. This one, it was just he'd be looking at the girl laying on the ground, and he'd be looking at her like
imagining the broken collarbone through her skin, kind of thing.
And it just kind of looked stupid. And then sometimes they would put their names up on there. So
really,
instead of introducing himself, it said Victor Frankenstein.
Like he was, what's your name? He turned around, and when he was about to speak, it just freeze framed and said Victor Frankenstein, and he never actually said it.
Yeah.
So then we're sitting there going, so wait, did he say it, or do we know this now? And then he
so
does
does Daniel Radcliffe know who he is?
That's the type of stuff that I gave it. It was too stylized, too weird.
Yeah.
And the only reason they even came up with that X-ray vision is so that they could both do it on the girl and be like, did we just become best friends? Like stepbrothers. Like we just both X-ray visioned her problem.
They did it a few more times throughout the movie, but it was stupid every time. So I don't have anything else to say about visuals. That one was just so bland.
Subpar, but not disastrous.
Right. So the structure was the big one. Again, these bad movies. You know, a bad movie, I find myself over and over doing okay acting scores, kind of okay visual scores, and then just hitting it on the structure section.
Right.
Because
so much structure is a lot more broad in what it includes.
Yeah, and it's easy to get a good actor to be in a bad movie. So then you have to give it a high acting score.
Or at least middling, because they're just not going to do that bad of a job.
Right.
Whereas how the character's written, that structure, the dialogue is structure,
Yeah.
the length of the scenes, the pacing,
Yeah.
the editing, all that structure.
So I actually hit this one with a 1.
I give it a 1.
Yeah, because the characters
So much was wrong with it.
Are horrible.
The characters are horrible and basically nonsensical in a few ways.
The character motivations are a complete mess.
They're a disaster. They don't even tell you most of the time, especially with...
Or they have to tell you,
or
because
they have to
otherwise
tell
it
you.
doesn't make
Right.
any sense. They wouldn't be doing this.
There's pacing is wonky.
Yes. It was boring. I wanted it to end.
It was very boring. Yeah, I was not happy with what was going on.
Right. And as we already bitched about, this detective character was the worst decision.
Unnecessary.
Yeah.
Well, it was necessary sort of for the plot that they came up with, but it was a totally terrible way of doing it.
They could have
just as easily made the character be chasing him because of the missing roommate.
Yeah.
And not because he was clutching his rosary beads thinking about... Because, I mean, the idea that he thinks that this guy is... No one even knew. How did this detective even know that he was trying to create life?
Yeah, it didn't make any sense.
No one even knew what he was
somehow,
doing.
Let's back up and explain this detective's motivations.
He shows up fairly early.
He does. He shows up immediately. So what happens when Frankenstein breaks Igor out of the circus at the very beginning, one of the circus members gets killed in that process.
So they're investigating this murder.
So the detective is coming in and investigating this murder. And as he's investigating it, he's like thinking about a different case that he's working on.
Well, he's describing exactly what happened. He's like, it appears that they were abusing this hunchback character, and this guy sees him and breaks him out, and in the process, probably self-defense, the guy gets killed. And
yeah,
you're like, wow.
Manslaughter at worst. Yeah.
And he's like, no, we're going to arrest this guy.
Yeah.
And he's like, why? He's like, because of other horrible sin. Or I don't know what he
No, because he goes back to his office and he starts talking about, like, I've been following this guy because he's stealing animal parts, and I think he's trying to create life when he shouldn't.
Right. No, whoa, wait, what?
And so that's the reason this detective is obsessed with finding him, because he thinks he's creating life. So the guy's not even stealing people parts. He's stealing animal parts.
Right.
I have a hard time
Which, first of all, is a dumb thing to begin with. How hard would it be to get free animal part? You could just go hunting back then.
Go to a fucking butcher store.
I mean, you don't have money, or which it appeared that he had money. He was a doctor's son. He was getting he was giving Igor money. It would not be hard to get animal parts.
No,
dogs, anything.
Not at all.
You know what I mean?
And I was kind of frustrated because I was like, you could have taken this detective and kept him in the movie, and he was just during this period of time in real history, there was something called resurrection men who would rob graves to get human body parts to sell to medical schools. And there actually were a couple of resurrection men around this time who, instead of robbing graves, they started killing people.
Because fresh bodies were worth more.
Yeah, so what I'm saying, that's a real thing. The guy's name were Burke and Hare,
and he could easily been like tracking this type of crime.
Yes, it was exactly during this time frame. They could have made him think that Frankenstein was doing that to someone else, and like they could have fitted in and had a character that made sense and a reason that he was tracking
roommate
him.
Or any of that other stuff.
Right. So, but instead, they made this detective an actual like lunatic, and
like a religious zealot who just refuses to allow or accept that this guy's experimenting with trying to create life.
And over the course of the movie, the people that work with the detective actually come to the same conclusion that we're saying, but honestly, it's too little too late as far as saving the movie and saving the character is concerned. Because he's already annoyed us throughout the whole movie, and we've already been wondering why he's doing this. That once the people around him realize that he's kind of crazy, it's too late. I'm already pissed off. I already just want this guy off screen.
First of all, they don't give any good motivation for why he feels as strongly about it. And even if they did, like we just said, how he even knows that that's what he's attempting to do doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
You would never think that with some guys just stealing animal parts or even human parts. You would never suspect that this person's trying to resurrect bodies.
They're putting together a creature to create life.
What are you talking? Yeah, what
doesn't make any sense.
Where would you get that idea even?
Yeah, so that character was horrible. The
whole plot, obviously, with the hunchback and the circus and because most freak shows in this time period and freak show acts would actually make a lot of money. They weren't being caged and beaten. Like Siamese twins and things would go to the circus and become fairly wealthy most of the time. The circus performers wouldn't just beat. First of all, it wasn't legal to just have some guy in a cage and beat him.
Yeah.
Not to say that means it's impossible, but it just doesn't make any sense. The whole act of him being fixed in 5 minutes is stupid. Why even make him a hunchback?
Right.
That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, and then
all of it was dumb.
The rich benefactor who eventually funds their operation so that they can make a humanoid monster instead of a chimpanzee monster. That guy had no reason for doing anything, and turned out he was evil anyway,
like
and was gonna kill both of them afterwards.
I mean, I understand he sees this potentially valuable technology and wants to own it. That makes sense. But deciding to kill Radcliffe for no particular reason,
right? Yeah, and
you could just be a runaway. Who are you going to tell? No one's going to believe you.
And then he said he was going to kill Frankenstein after he created the monster.
No particular
He's
reason.
Like, you wouldn't keep him around to create more monsters?
I mean, it would have been much more realistic because Frankenstein was so focused solely on getting this to happen that he could have made him sign all these things that he wasn't paying attention to, and now he owns the technology no matter what he creates. Right. Something like that. Like a shrewd but heartless businessman, but to make him all of a sudden he's just this med student, this rich kid med student who's all of a sudden like a James Bond villain for no reason. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. And then the girl has no effect on anything, so she might as well not exist after they save her life, except that she and Daniel Radcliffe fuck, and he looks really happy afterwards. Yeah, he literally did a scene of him walking on the street like, I just had sex, and it felt so good. Yeah. So I guess there was a little bit of unintentional comedy there. Right. And not quite as good as the from I, Frankenstein, but pretty funny. Yeah. When the final creature gets animated, this whole movie, Frankenstein himself, this is his obsession, right? He almost literally is like, damn, this guy's eyes are like sort of soulless. I changed my mind. Yeah. This is a mistake. And he didn't do that with the ugly monkey creature. He was thrilled with the ugly monkey creature. Yeah. And also, about 5 minutes before this happened, Daniel Radcliffe let him know, the Draco Malfoy type character guy, the blonde student, whatever, who's a bad guy, was going to kill him afterwards, and he was like, I don't care. Yeah. I will have changed history. My name will not be forgotten. Like, that's all I care about. And then he sees the creature and is like, goes to touch it, and it just stares at him. He's like, well, fuck, this isn't what I thought it would be. It's like a millennial Frankenstein. Yeah. This isn't what I thought it would be. Yeah. This didn't turn out like I thought. And so then he and Igor fight this thing for a few minutes. For no reason. Yeah, they kill it. It's just standing there. It's like standing there, and Moriarty, the detective, shoots it. So then it goes on a rampage, and then they kill it. And yeah, Eric's right. I felt bad for the thing. There was no reason to have shot it. Yeah, there was no reason to have shot it in the first place. I don't give a shit about any of these characters. He could have murdered. No, it wasn't Draco who shot it. It was the detective. No, detective. I said it was. And you also forgot to mention. Did I say Malfoy? I meant Moriarty. Moriarty. Yeah. You forgot to mention also that when the guy had been fired from the force, he shows up at this estate at the same time that Radcliffe does. To stop it. He's there to help him. He's there to stop it. And he has an eye patch on for no reason. This was never set up. And it was so quick, and like non sequitur that we both kind of looked at each other and said, was he just wearing an eye patch for some reason? And then we were like, well, we'll see. The next time it shows him, he wasn't wearing an eye patch.
But his eye was all fucked up.
And then we're like, oh, maybe wait, his eye is fucked up. And it's totally out of nowhere. Didn't make any sense.
Right. So they totally missed... They totally cut a scene.
Or even multiple scenes where he takes the patch off and explains why his eye's fucked up.
Right.
Or this doesn't make any sense. So much nonsensical stuff.
This script was a total mess.
I think this
is the first one of the movies we've watched that I was like specifically could tell it was the script itself that just...
I mean, a lot of them, like Ender's Game and stuff. All those scripts are garbage, but
I guess. But the characters in this one were just horrible. There was
just nothing here that you could fix again. There was nothing to do with this movie that you could make it better.
I think it doesn't help either that I'm not at all interested in the Frankenstein myth. It's just
they took that the most interesting parts of it, which is the creatures themselves. They had the one little creature with the chimpanzee. They had the monster at the end, which was cool. But beyond that, it was a study of the characters, but the characters were boring and nonsensical.
And unlikable. And
that was the movie. Yeah. They were unsensical, nonsensical.
You couldn't relate to them.
They didn't
couldn't root for them.
And that was the movie, though.
Yeah.
And so it made it incredibly boring.
Yeah, it was kind of tough to get. It wasn't horrible to get through, but I was actively looking forward to the end.
This is not.
Whereas, like with I, Frankenstein, I went, okay, this movie sucks.
There was a part, and I think I asked you how much was left in the movie because if you could tell. Because at the rate we were going, they weren't even going to have another creature. I thought maybe this movie would end and there never would be a Frankenstein's monster. It would just, this is stupid.
At one point, Eric was just like, I don't think this is going to have a monster in it.
And I don't think they're even going to have...
And then we were like, it'll show up at the very end, I think.
But I thought it might even be just like the eye opens and that's the end of the movie kind of thing.
Yeah, I was kind of...
And it wasn't much more than that. They had one little fight where they killed the poor thing. But
yeah, the poor thing. Oh, bless his heart. They killed the poor thing.
Oh, bless his poor heart.
So run through your scores. I did 2.5, 2.5, and 1.
I gave 1.5, 2, and 1.
So that's 3.
Part of the acting thing was I needed this to be rated lower than I Frankenstein because it was worse overall, and I didn't know where else to take it from because 1 is already super low for structure. The visuals, 2, they weren't really that bad visually, so I had to take a little bit more away from acting than I probably would have because maybe structure should have been 1.5. So I'm happy with my overall score for the movie. I think I was a little harsh on acting. Maybe I should have been harsher on structure and given it a 0.5.
I don't know. I mean, I struggle
because that's why it was bad.
With these rating systems. I mean, obviously they're subjective. These are not.
Of course.
They can't be. And this one, I would say, I thought it was still a better movie than I, Frankenstein.
I didn't.
The look of I, Frankenstein.
I,
Frankenstein looked like a sci-fi movie, like a sci-fi original movie. So I had to give that one really low scores.
It was more... I ranked this one lower than that one just because overall experience, I would rather watch it again. If I had to pick one of these, I'd recommend it before the other one if I had to recommend one.
I guess.
You know what I mean? The overall experience was... I was not waiting for that movie to be over like I was with Victor Frankenstein.
Yeah, maybe I screwed up the scoring on this one. I think
there's no reason.
I think this is the first time that we both at least haven't given the same movie a higher
winner
score.
Or lower. Yeah.
So
yeah, that's true. Even in all that we've had our scores be different, the same movie has always been higher than the other.
Yeah.
With the exception of this time.
Yeah. So
it means it's probably time to never talk to each other again.
Or come up with a new rating system.
Right.
How about that?
Start over.
No, like I said, I think this one was the most I had struggled with a movie so far with the ratings.
Well, like I said, it was one of those where if you just wrote down what you thought about acting, visuals, and structure, you get a number that seems too high. It seems too high.
Yeah.
So then I just had to take, because you're like, it doesn't deserve that high of a number.
Yeah.
Even though I can't tell exactly where that should be coming from. And that's sort of why I just like, fuck it, I'll lower acting a little bit and make sure structure's low. But maybe structure should have been 0.5.
Yeah.
Because that's why structure is the most all-encompassing. So when a movie is just inexplicably bad, that's probably where it should come from.
Yeah.
But regardless, I think my total score is solid.
So I already ran through your scores. Mine was 2.5, 2.5, and 1. So I gave it a 6. So overall, 10.5 compared to 9.5 for I, Frankenstein. So me giving it the extra boost for James McAvoy just trying so gosh darn hard.
Made it win.
Yeah. All the spitting, I guess, just did it for me. But now I feel bad. I feel like I I will say, going into this,
it is a more well-made movie.
Yes.
So that in that case, you could say it deserved to win. In
Yes.
terms of watching it, it's not as, for me, it wasn't as enjoyable, but that's more subjective.
yeah. But anyway,
I will say-
it subverted my expectations. This is the first time that not the first time, but I thought Victor Frankenstein was going to be significantly better than I, Frankenstein.
I will say that they were trying...
It's debatable. It is legitimately debatable.
Yeah, they were trying to do something newer and like I, Frankenstein was just a straightforward, like you said, sci-fi level sort of action movie trying to be like that. It was like the other movie was at least trying something new, trying to come up with a new idea, kind of a unique way of doing things.
And every once in a while I would get a flash of that, like usually through McAvoy's portrayal. I would get a flash of what they were trying to do, or I would get a flash of the relationship they were trying to set up. And I was like, maybe if you just completely started over with this script, you could have gotten it. But they tried a lot of different things, and it came together to be a complete mess. So it really is legitimately debatable whether Victor Frankenstein is better than I, Frankenstein, regardless
Depends
of the Rotten
on what
Tomatoes
you
score.
find most objectionable about bad movies.
True.
For me, the boringness will kill it so hard.
Yeah.
So for me, it was a slower paced, less action, less stuff happening. So that made it the worst movie, even though overall, in terms of most actual metrics for what people would consider a good movie, it's probably slightly better than I, Frankenstein. But it was it was slightly more difficult to watch.
And I think that's what made the decision for me. So anyway, I think we've talked these two movies to death, so we can call it quits for the week. But if you want to get in contact with us, our email address is faintpraisepodcast@gmail.com. Thank you for listening, and hopefully you will join us next week.
See you guys.